Welcome to Improv for the Podcast. On this week's episode, we'll hear from Naveen, who will tell us all about his improvisational journey. We'll play a couple games and, most importantly, learn how he improv'd his life. Let's hit it. Welcome to Improv for the Podcast. I am your host, Michael Lee Evans, and today we are joined by the incredibly talented, amazing Dr. Naveen. Naveen, thank you so much for joining us this evening. How are you doing today?
I'm doing lovely. It's great to be here, Michael.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I'm really glad to have you on. I'm really excited to sit down, chat, get to know a little more about you. So for our listeners at home, could you just give us a brief explanation of your kind of relationship to IFTP, how long you've been involved, if you've done classes here?
Absolutely. I've been with IFTP since September, I want to say.
Okay, nice.
And I knew I wanted to get back into improv when I moved to Los Angeles in July, and it looked like a really good fit. And I've been doing classes with Jamie and Matt since then. I've really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed the friendship, and just it really feels like a family here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you've done maybe a little bit of the Monday night classes, Wednesday night. That's awesome. Because I think one thing that's really unique about IFTP and that I've always enjoyed is the different teachers that are here and how you can get those different slices of improv. So I appreciate that you've already explored. You're like, I'm going to try on Monday. I'm going to try on Wednesday, right? Get those different tastes.
Absolutely. And I love Jamie's classes. Just with my schedule, Wednesday night was the most reliable that I wouldn't be late or that I wouldn't miss it. So
yeah, definitely. Jamie, he's definitely throwing shade at you, just so you know. No, not at all. Yeah,
I could never throw shade at a weremouse.
Oh, the were-rat. Yeah,
I think. Sorry, were-rat. Apologies, Jamie. I hope your indigestion from eating so many pieces of paper last night has passed, much like the pieces of paper.
Now, do you think he actually swallowed those pieces? Right?
You know, there was a hot debate.
I didn't get to ask
after the show, and a lot of us were on kind of either sides. And I believe that Jamie swallowed the paper. You heard it here first.
I think I'm with you. I think I'm with you. I'll back you up on that.
Yeah.
So listeners, for a little bit of context, there was a show last night at Improv for the People, an improvised Dungeons and Dragons fantasy style improv show. And a friend of the show, Jamie Parkinen, came on. And during the performance last night, he ate 2 pieces of paper.
I think it was more than that.
Possibly more. Yeah,
you're right. Sometimes they're on the floor, and it was a wonderful gag. I was in a lot of pain laughing.
Yeah, that was, I do hope he's okay. Paper cut to the throat.
Our prayers are with you, Jamie.
Yeah. Jamie, take it easy today. Stick to regular foods.
Yeah, start with liquids, work your way to gentle solids, and then, hopefully it'll pass.
Yeah. I think that's a good plan.
That's free medical advice for you, Jamie. Okay.
Ooh, write that down. Write that down, Jamie.
Yep.
All right. If Jamie doesn't have insurance, is that okay?
Well, in this great country, if you don't have insurance, then you're kind of screwed.
Oh.
Yeah, but...
Got him there. All right. I don't know if Kaiser covers were-rats, so...
Yeah, well, we'll find the best DVM, a doctor of veterinary medicine, that money can buy.
Oh, true.
We'll take out a collections plate next Monday.
Yeah, go fund me. Oh, man, it's getting a little too real now. All right, Naveen. So I want to talk a little bit more about your improv journey. But before we do, we, of course, as always, need to play a couple of rounds of 3 things. Because here on Improv for the Podcast, we want to learn a little bit more about you. So I'm guessing, have you played 3 things before, Naveen?
I've not.
All right. So how this game basically works is that I'm going to list a category, and you're going to name 3 things from that category.
Okay.
And then we'll move on to the next one. And these categories are related to you or what I could find about you on the internet, which is my favorite thing. I think maybe I should be a detective. I might look into that, but after the podcast. All right. So we're going to go ahead and play. These are 3 things. Types of surgery.
Orthopedic.
1.
Urology.
2.
General surgery.
3. These are 3 things.
These are 3 things.
Names for cats.
Ooh, Darth Vader.
1.
Yoda.
2.
Whiskers.
3. These are 3 things.
That are catching on there.
Last one. Things that are bigger in Texas.
Yeah, things are better in Texas. Governor.
1.
Borders.
2.
Steaks.
3. These are 3 things. All right. Well done, Naveen. Thank you. All right. So that first category, types of surgery. What did I ask you about types of surgery, Naveen?
Well, because I'm an orthopedic surgeon, I believe.
All right, so you might know a thing or two. Yeah.
I believe.
So you might know a thing or two about a few types of surgery, right? Is there from your medical perspective, is there one surgery you would like? It could be any surgery that you would just be like, nah, I don't want to do that. Like too crazy or too difficult.
Yeah,
what would it be?
Absolutely. There is a surgery that, where when a child has a bad tumor in their leg and they switch and they take out the tumor and to give them kind of like a functional knee joint, they'll take the ankle and attach to the knee. It's a bizarre, but it actually is kind of cool. It kind of works.
Yeah.
But like, I think that just hurts my brain too much. I kind of think like I'm Sid from Toy Story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, with all
it just seems like, how is this possible?
I mean, it works and all that stuff, but it's just one thing that's like, no, that's, that puts me into like playing God category. I don't know. That's not
kind of
for
like
me.
rearranging the body, but it works. Yeah. Well, that's incredible. Oh my gosh. I mean, it just goes to show like the incredible like skill and like research within the medical field that we're able to do that. Follow-up question. If I've played the game Operation, how realistic is that?
Oh, it's absolutely realistic.
Okay, good.
Having those steady hands and not shaking left and right. And if you do shake, you just have to kind of watch your shake so that it kind of, you time it and you move your body and you move the operation table with it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good to know. All right. So next time I have a family game night, look out.
Just throw Uncle Joe on the table. You're set.
So I'm prepared. All right. Thank you, Naveen. All right. That second category, names for cats. Why'd I ask you about names for cats, Naveen?
Because I have two lovely house cats.
Two lovely cats that you do. I've seen a few photos.
Yeah.
All right. And their names are Darth Vader and Yoda, right?
They are Darth Vader and Yoda.
That's classic Star Wars, none of that new stuff. Like, I'm into that. So you're a big Star Wars fan?
I am a large Star Wars fan. That is certain.
All right. What's your favorite movie?
Definitely Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I agree. That's my favorite one.
With one caveat.
Okay.
Empire's got just with the Yoda scenes. I mean, I could watch those on repeat if.
That's true. Because Yoda's not really, well, he's kind of down and out in Return of the Jedi, and then he's out. So yeah, he really shines in Empire. So I'll give you that. But did you think like when you watched Empire, Yoda was a little annoying at first? Like when you first see it, he's just taking Luke's stuff and like
totally.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I love about him though. He's so like annoying, giddy, and crazy, but he's also the great Jedi master that Luke needs. And Luke imagines some like gigantic, like muscles upon muscles, Jedi. This is what I'm imagining what Luke imagines about what Yoda's going to be. And then he turns out to be this small, like kind of giggly,
green guy,
punch drunk green guy. And I think that's telling.
Yeah.
And an excellent, beautiful artistic choice.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It was like the expectations that you have, like you're misjudging people. Yeah. Because you're like, oh man, if Yoda fought you, Luke, you'd get destroyed.
Like, judge me by my size, do you? And
Luke's
like trying to bring that X-Wing that's like 10,000 pounds up from the swamp. And he's just like, I can't do it.
Yeah, and Yoda one-hands it. Yeah. He's like, look, let me show you how it's done, kid. Whoop. Like, okay. You got me there. Okay. Last category, things that are bigger in Texas. Why'd I ask you about Texas?
Because I am from the great country of Texas. Unfortunately, no. No, I love Texas. Like a bittersweet relationship because I'm from the cities of Texas.
Yeah.
The cities of Texas are about as progressive as the cities everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, Austin, I'm a big Austin fan. I've been to Houston. Yeah. A lot of time in those places. Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, definitely any kind of like, Texas or Florida, like that kind of sentiment, I feel it twice as much.
Yeah. And I think Texas is one of those states where there's a huge contrast, I think, like you mentioned, between the cities and then the rest of the state, which kind of creates this internal tension, I think. Yeah. And it's an interesting thing.
It's very interesting. No.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of family like from Texas. So while not from there myself, very involved in Texas things. So I get you there. I love Austin. I love that place. So
Austin's
beautiful city.
I lived there for 6 years. I love it to death. It is a wonderful city.
All right. Do you have a favorite breakfast taco spot in Austin?
Oh yeah, there's two. El Chelito and Taco Deli. Those two are my favorite.
Been a Taco Deli. I'm more of a Torchy's guy.
Yeah. Some people are like that.
Yeah, that's me.
They're wrong, but it's okay.
All right, fair enough. I like Taco Deli too, and I haven't tried El Chelito, you said?
Yeah, El Chelito. It's not a chain. There's just like one of them.
So it's probably better than anything because it's not a chain. Yeah. All right, good to know. Well, next time I'm there, I'll have to look for it because I feel like Torchy's is probably like the touristy place to go.
It's okay. It just seems like there's just so much. They put so many things in their tacos, like carrots and radish, and they're like, well, did you worry about how it tasted, or just you want to put like really cool looking ingredients on your menu?
Yeah, they're like, if we just put all these things in there, people won't even notice.
Yeah, like, oh, my eyes hurt, and so now I don't know how I taste it. It must taste good.
It's very colorful. That means it's good, right? I think that's a good point. There's a beauty in simplicity, especially with breakfast food and breakfast tacos.
I mean, you've done damage to yourself the day before, and you've risen to fight another day.
Yeah.
And for God's most important meal, just keep it to the basics.
Yeah, when you break your fast, you gotta get that good stuff. Those eggs, bacon, cheese, like whatever it is, sausage, chorizo,
We all intermittent fast, so we should really.
It's true. Every night.
Every single person.
Yeah, we've all been doing it our whole lives.
Yeah. That's why these scientists like, you intermittent fast. That's the breakthrough to being healthy and sexy to any gender and all genders. Like, is it?
It's like, I've been doing that in a way. Like, that's a really good point. Yeah. It's just like doing it longer, I guess. That's really all it is. Just tacking on a few hours. Huh. I'm going to think about that. I'm going to be laying there tonight and I'm like, if I don't sleep, will I fast? And that's going to be the question I ask myself. All right, Naveen. Well, thank you for sharing on that. And sharing your breakfast taco perspective. Now I need to buy a ticket and head out there to Austin and find the true best breakfast taco. But before I think about food too much, we got to get into improv because I want to hear your story, your experience, and your journey with improv in your life thus far. So Naveen, can you tell me the first time you ever heard about or just heard the word or were exposed to improv, whenever that was for you?
Absolutely. It was in high school. Did some theater, some plays, and the plays are okay. I guess I never gravitated as much to like the plays where you had to memorize a line and try to create something new and some new energy to it every time. And of course, like that's like the pinnacle of like our theatrical history.
Sure.
People playing great plays, Shakespeare, you name it, a different actor giving a different life to the theater. And I love Shakespeare. I love all that, but it just, for me, it would never really had that. I could never really get that to something. And then we started doing improv and it started bypassing this part of my brain where I even had to consider that. I had to consider these are the lines that I memorized and I have to apply like an emotion, a character, a motive to the lines that I'm given. And somehow when I bypassed that, it was just a lot easier for me. And so my theater teacher in high school, there's a lot of really interesting philosophical questions that really gripped me and kind of connected with my tradition as a Hindu that resonated, especially like with group mind.
Yeah.
We play this exercise, like this warm-up exercise where, and a lot of things to this effect, like one where you're all walking in a circle with your eyes closed and one person stops, everyone has to stop. Another one where like two people their eyes are closed. It's bizarre, but it's poignant. Two people I digress. Two people are crawling on the ground. Then everyone else makes kind of like four corners for them, a box. Yeah. And one person's chasing the other person. And both eyes are closed. And typically the person who hides, like if they can calm their mind completely, it's fascinating. The other person will not find them.
Wow.
Even if like they do like line by line, try to find the person, when they go close to that person who's completely stilled their mind, they'll like turn around and just like ignore them. And so there's this unique power of group mind just fascinated me because there's a lot about that in Hinduism as well.
Yeah.
And then it kind of carried on to my college years too.
Okay, that's incredible. I want to see this exercise in action because I think just watching that, like being one of those four corners, kind of creating that barrier, and then you're just there observing like these two people, eyes closed, trying to find, one's hiding, one's finding the other. That's fascinating. I've never done an exercise quite like that. I think, group mind is an incredible thing, like seeing it in action because it's so hard to explain. Like, but once you see it, you're like, how are they so in sync like that? There's nothing really like it. So I'm with you there. That's just something about improv that I don't think you see captured often in other like forms of theater, like a Shakespeare play. I don't really feel like there's an opportunity for group mind in the same way because it's already built. You're just adding life to it, right? But improv, you're building it from the ground up. So I love that because, gosh, group mind. I need there to be like studies on group mind. I mean, there probably are, but
and I wrote about that a little bit in college.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. So in college, I kept doing theater classes. I did some improv classes, and this is where it's going to get a little bit. We're taking a little bit of tangent. We're coming right back to improv.
No, I'm here for tangents. So let's hit it.
I wrote my undergraduate thesis on Hinduism and professional basketball.
I saw that on your LinkedIn. I was hoping it would come up.
Yeah. So this is how it kind of goes back to improv. So a little bit of backstory because it's important. Their coach, Phil Jackson, everyone in Los Angeles knows who Phil Jackson is.
Of course.
For those who didn't, won 5, I think, championships here in Los Angeles, and then another 6 with Chicago Bulls. But when he started, he was a little radical. So Michael Jordan, everyone knows him. He was 27, going on 28. He had not won a championship yet.
Yeah.
And the coach who was going to coach him was named Doug Collins. And they had a nickname for him as Play-A-Day Doug Collins because he would try to map out every single little thing you would do on the court.
Wow.
And he would have 1,000 plays. And Michael Jordan turns 27, turns 28. He still hasn't won a championship, and they fire him and they hire Phil Jackson. And Phil Jackson has a really hot take on how to coach. And his is improv. It's the triangle offense. It's basically a glorified improv offense, which is absolutely radical, bizarre, and everyone thought he'd fail because you have 5 players who've been the best players on all their college teams. They were the best players on their high school team. They're the best players on their JV. So you have a selection process where every single one of them wants to be the star, have the ball in their hands. So you can imagine, you say improv, it's going to be an utter disaster.
There's only one ball.
Exactly. And so how did he make that work? How did he make that work to the tune of 11 championships? Yeah. Well, summary was improv, but but the essence of it was he taught them meditation, yoga. He did Native American traditions, about being with the group mind. Wow. And a lot of that I used to explain with Hinduism. But what was so fascinating was to find the tools to explain how this improvised offense worked. I leaned on the improv literature, on the group mind. How does a player know to pass that ball to someone as they're cutting if they didn't plan it out? How do they have that? How do they have that awareness to recognize the cues and the offers that are being given by their team players?
Yeah.
And that came from the improv literature.
Wow. I didn't know that. I mean, I watched a little bit of The Last Dance, but this is another level. Oh my gosh. And I think it makes sense in my head that basketball would be a sport where group mind would be incredibly beneficial because I think at the end of the day, you can draw up plays, but they're not always going to work depending on the other team's defense, right? Especially, you're in the paint, right? Maybe someone's outside the key, you're trying to pass the ball around, trying to find that open shut. Oh my goodness.
And it's so compelling too, because just think about it. Let's say you're on a basketball team, you have 5 players, and you only need one person to be looking out for themselves, to not buy into it, to destroy the whole thing. If one player says, you know what, I'm not going to do this whole group mind, I'm not going to calm down my ego, do the meditation, do the yoga. I'm just going to take as many shots as I can, because if I can put up 20 points, even if to the detriment of the team, then another team might scout me and give me a $10 million contract. It was so brave to say, I want to try to teach all my players how to accept offers, how to calm their minds, and it worked.
Yeah, and on 2 different teams as well, and like you said, to the tune of 11 championships. I have 0 NBA championships, so and I don't have a $10 million contract. What am I doing? All right, Phil Jackson, call me.
Phil Jackson, if you're listening, please, I would love to.
Yeah. We 2 guys right here. We're ready to go. I'll ride your bench, whatever. But I'll be a team guy. Wow, I think that's fascinating, and to bring that into your senior thesis, I really love that. Combining these things that maybe people would think at face value, you're I don't see the crossover, but you're no, look at these threads that connect these different ideas. You brought up Hinduism as well. I'd love if you want to explain a little more kind of how that ties in as well.
Absolutely. So he taught a form of Zen Buddhism, and Zen Buddhism is very similar to Hinduism, with one critical exception. And that's kind of in Zen Buddhism, there's this sense of emptiness or nothingness. And once you meditate, you calm the mind, you get to this sense of nothingness. Phil Jackson combined Zen Buddhism, what he taught to his players, with the great mind, the great spirit, which was a Lakota Sioux tradition, a Native American tradition. So they would do these traditions, he would light incense in the locker rooms. He would have them form a circle with their arms and to represent the great circle that connects everyone. The whole idea being taking Zen Buddhism, but taking out the sense of emptiness and taking that sense of oneness, which you do that's Hinduism.
The unification.
That's Hinduism, every single day. And so that's the kind of the vehicle I used to explain that.
Yeah.
Also with all the rituals and trappings were just straight out of Hinduism, like lighting incense and, these rituals to represent the greater spirit. Like that's,
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the Hinduism was a perfect lens to explain that coaching tradition.
Yeah. And it really translates well to a team sense where it is not about the individual, but the greater whole, right? What can we accomplish together rather than individually?
Right.
Man, revolutionary indeed, because I think a lot of teams still struggle with that.
And the more I dug, the more excited I got. And the Swami that I was studying underneath, he would just like roll his eyes at me, and he would, very gracefully, teach me the Hinduism side of it. But I would just nerd out about like the relationships between improv and basketball. For example, there's like this ancient prayer to Goddess that I love. I try to listen to every day if I can. And it talks about the origins of speech and how there's like two different levels of unconditioned speech before your conscious mind's aware of it. And so it talks about like, how we talk about improv, about like how you want to try to not condition your mind what you're going to say, like really respond. And just when that thought that comes out of yourself that you don't even really know you're saying it's usually brilliant and fun.
Yeah.
And it talks about that in that ancient prayer. It's incredible.
Wow. Okay, man, this is some good stuff to me.
Yeah. So there's all this stuff like would get me excited about improv.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Man, I can see it from because I love basketball. I can see it from basketball. I can see it from Hinduism. It all kind of just comes together for me.
It blends all these different areas in your life and connects them, which is incredible. I mean, it's basketball. Yeah. Like I often think of basketball and improv as so different because there's like a type of person who's really into basketball and the type of person who's really into improv. But when you see the seams connecting the two, it's like, hey, wait a second. And I think that's so incredible how you were able to connect that in your paper, in your senior thesis. I mean, that's what a senior thesis is about. It's your opportunity to share an idea, something that you are passionate about and how it can affect the world and affect others. That's awesome.
I mean, you see Matt like has us do those exercises where one person stops and everyone has to stop or four people and that soft focus. I mean, can you imagine if you had teams like basketball teams doing that? Like you'd have a lot more Jason kids and people who can pass behind their head and because that soft focus is everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think I'm just thinking about other sports too. I'm like, oh my gosh. But I think basketball in particular is the unique one because it's such a fluid sport that's always moving and changing. And like you're just adapting on the court every moment. Oh my gosh. All right. So high school improv, that was like, it rocked your world. And then you mentioned you continued doing improv in college. Obviously, you wrote that senior thesis. So were you taking classes, kind of involved in that scene at your school?
Yeah. So in undergrad, I took an acting class and I took an improv class. And those are great because they were like 6 months each. So they were really fun.
Yeah, you get the whole
really
semester.
Go slowly through short form, then long form. Just awesome.
Yeah.
And then at the end of med school, I took one more class in Houston. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah. I got to take a semester long improv class in college. One of the best things because it's just the long term, like just week after week, class after class, you're meeting with those same people. Really beneficial to group mind because you're building those relationships and that trust, and it just makes all your work that you do together stronger. Oh yeah. I'm jealous. I wish I could go back to doing that. I miss it so much. All right. So that was undergrad, right? You were taking those classes and it tied into your paper and a lot of the other things that were going on in your life, your belief, your passion about sports. Incredible how that connected. So were you performing as well? Just taking classes, doing shows?
Just classes and such. I'd always kind of been musical. So I would be on, but not, I would never, I never did like performances per se, aside from like within the confines of the class.
Okay. All right. And you were in Texas for undergrad, right? Okay.
Yep, in Austin.
So yeah. Oh, they got a good comedy scene there. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good place to be.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, I believe it. All right. So you finished undergrad, grad school?
Medical school in Houston, and it was just so busy. But my fourth year is typically a very light year, so I was able to get some time in to do an improv class at the end of it, and that was just so much fun.
Yeah,
Yale performance at the end, and it was a lot of. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and probably getting back to it after being busy for so many years with school and studying, and I'm sure taking tests and so many different things. It probably felt really good.
It has that meditative feel too, and I still feel like this now, where I don't have really any other thoughts.
Yeah.
In that class, and there's very few things in my life that are like that, which I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Improv kind of exists in a unique space, and I think can be so centering. Like coming to that class and then coming out of it can really I don't know. For me, it helps me get back on track with a lot of things in life because it's kind of a reset in a way. Everything slows down. What matters is what's happening in that class, nothing else outside. Then I can face it all again when I'm done, which is, yeah, you don't get that out in a lot of places. Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to track your journey. So kind of grad school. All right. So grad school, you take that improv class in Houston.
Yep.
Cause I'm trying to find my way to when you got to LA. So you finish up in Houston.
Yeah, 5 years of residency in Memphis, where I did 0 improv. Also, there wasn't very much.
Yeah. I don't know too much about Memphis.
The classes, there's only like one class a week that were nearby, and it was during a time I would not be able to attend. And so I was just so busy. I couldn't do it. I would have loved to. I really wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I come to Los Angeles for fellowship and I have a lot more free time. And
that's good.
Yeah. I was like, man, I got to find a place to pick this up again. And
get involved.
Yeah. And it's just really fun too, to have friends in IFTP and just kind of reconnect that as well.
Yeah. So you said you started at IFTP back in September 2022, right? When did you move to LA? Was it
July?
Short? Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So pretty quick turnaround. That's amazing. And how was it jumping in? You came to your first IFTP class. It had been a few years since you had done improv. Were you like, I'm ready to go, like not too much rust, or like, how was that jumping back in?
You know, the thing that I love about improv and kind of coming back to the spiritual side of things and like the therapy, self-development, whatever it is, I feel like with improv, there are things that I've learned over the years where it's so internal and not external that I know if I'm doing a good job, even if people don't laugh, even if people don't like respond. But if I do it to that, typically they will. Yeah. So kind of clarifying that statement. It's like, if I am trusting just whatever gray space comes out, if I'm like giving my scene partner something to work with, and then the work in progress side, if I'm not dominating the conversation or the scene too much, I know if I can reach those 3 goals, then it doesn't really matter kind of how everything else goes. And so those were kind of my light posts, and it worked well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Huh. I think it's interesting how you're able to like gauge that right within yourself, because I don't think improv scenes should be judged based on laughter alone, right? Because there's so much more to it than that. And like you said, giving a gift to your scene partner is such a huge thing. And sometimes the best improvisers are the ones that can do that, right? Just like here. And like that makes everyone look good, right? That's that group mind, is when everyone's building each other up instead of like, railroading a scene to themselves. That's incredible. So what would you say, thinking about it? Because I'd consider you're like a longtime improviser. You've been in the game a little bit. What's some growth that you've seen in yourself as an improviser from when you started to where you are now?
I think one of the best reflections I've had, and bear with me on this metaphor, there is a saying, or there's just something you'll notice when you're learning how to operate and you have different teachers, and you'll do a surgery as a trainee and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I did a great job. But then as you get older, you reflect like, wow, well, the surgeon who was teaching me put the retractors exactly where they should be, where they were just guiding you, you didn't really do the surgery. You just kind of got led. And it's remarkable as you get older, you're like, wow, doing the actual cutting and whatever part you have to do is not that hard. It's really being able to retract things in like a gentle way to get the surgery done, because that's the hard part. Yeah. And in the same way, I think I realized, especially with some of these just incredible improvisers that I had like the privilege of working with here, you'll just, like Annie Rose and them, like they just, when you're working with them, like there's 2 things I've noticed. One, like Annie Rose in particular, she can just completely be silent in the scene and still be excellent, or like can take over whatever is needed, she'll do. The second thing is like, and I remember I was like in a scene with Austin, she gave me like the most incredible gift. I think our suggestion was 7. And I was like, I have no
7?
idea. Yeah, 7.
Oh, what a
and
suggestion.
I was like, I have no idea what to do.
Yeah, that's a terrible suggestion.
And the first sentence comes out of her mouth like, Captain, we're about to head towards 7 asteroids. What's your next step? And I was like, that is an incredible gift. Yeah. And my reflection from that was, I tried to think, okay, what scenes went well, what scenes didn't go well, whatever. I was like, man, the common string is I want to have a great scene partner. And so just start crediting myself less on some of these scenes I think went well, because they probably didn't go well because of me. They went well because my scene partner really set me up for success.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. This is a bit of a tangent, but who gave the suggestion 7? Yeah. Because was this in a class setting?
Yeah, this is Matt's class.
Oh, that's mean. That's mean.
I was like, well, we're going to.
Someone was like, ooh, I got one. 7. Yeah. That's terrible. That's just a number. I mean, it sounds like y'all were able to turn it into something pretty awesome, but goodness gracious. And I would say, yeah, Annie Rose and Austin, friends of the show. They've both been on earlier episodes, and they're both, I've had the opportunity to work with them both. They're both fantastic improvisers. So I know what you mean.
I thought when I was younger, like especially, I was just reflecting back when I was in college and stuff. Yeah, I had that idea of like try to be in the moment, just your mind will make funny things. And it does. And the gray spacing is still a big aspect.
Yeah.
But and maybe this is me realizing like my own ADD and like getting treated for it and recognizing that I don't have to gray space and be crazy to make a fun scene.
No.
And just kind of let it unfold.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a value in kind of slowing things down a little bit and kind of seeing where it leads. Like, especially sometimes it can be fun to like watch scenes breathe a little bit, you know, before they get cut off too quickly, because then you can really find something interesting. Yeah. I know I have a habit of that sometimes, like getting like too caught up in like trying to speed through, and you keep like throwing information out there, but it's like, whoa, slow down. Like, there were good pieces in there if you just take the time to point them out and acknowledge them, right? Or maybe your scene partner is giving you something, but sometimes you're buzzing, you're going too fast. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something I know that was true of me when I was younger as well, my early improv days. Yikes. All right. So what would you say is one of your favorite improv exercises?
Ooh, man, I have so many, but you know, and maybe this is my favorite, the one I've just been thinking about a lot. I love the confession game. God, I love the confession game. That is such a fun game.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an exercise or a game. I'm not sure which one you're getting at.
Yeah. It's an exercise game, either interchangeable a little bit. But yeah, I think a confession can be such a strong move in an improv scene too, because it just makes things juicy, right? And it can be such a helpful tool. Like, just like, I have to confess something, and like it gets drama, right? It builds tension, you know, it helps deepen the relationship with the two characters, and it's such a rich thing. So I definitely agree.
Jamie had us use one exercise once I really liked, just came to mind, where you had to use the last word that your scene partner used to start your sentence.
Yeah.
Oh man, I had to say so many bizarre things. And in I think my scene partner ended the sentence with is. And so I just started saying is, was, will be. And I don't know, the gray spacing was so much fun. With a little bit of structure. It's just like, you can like get something so much better sometimes.
Yeah.
Like a little constraint makes it so much fun.
Yeah. I think oftentimes the best sort of creativity comes under constraints, because it's like, that's when like the human genius can come in almost, you know, it's like that opportunity of like, hey, we can't do this. What else can we do? And some of the best things I know in my experience that I've seen or been a part of have come out because of constraints. So I definitely agree. When an exercise challenges you like that, it can help get you out of your head, because you're not trying to figure out what 7 means. You know, you're given a little more structure. So I think it's a really important thing. All right. Do you have a least favorite exercise?
Yeah.
Because, you know, everyone has things they like to do, and then it's like, we're doing this, and you do it, but you're like,
So I think my least, and this is going to sound like a cop out, but I'll say it's my least favorite, but also one of my favorites, and I'll tell you why. It's like the one where everyone has to, one person walks, and then the other person, or 4 people walk, and it's my least favorite because it just feels like a chore. It's my most favorite because one thing Matt said like a month ago that just like resonated. I told my therapist, we talked about it. It was so brilliant. It was, if you're the person who typically likes to start a scene, if you're the person who likes to start a scene, then don't be the person who initiates a walk.
Yeah.
And if you're the person who typically doesn't start scene, then be the person who walks. And that was a light bulb moment for me, but I still hate that exercise, but now I get it. I really appreciate it. I'm like, this is the medicine I need.
Yeah. Are you the improviser who starts or doesn't start? You start?
Yeah. Having brittle ADHD, it's,
I'm a starter as well. And I definitely, I noticed it. I'm like, even on the podcast, I'm like editing and I'm like, I'm the host. Like, let the guest do it. So just know I'm going to be thinking about that in a little bit tonight when we play some games. I'm going to be like, don't start. Don't give Naveen the chance to start. It's on my mind often. Okay. So do you think there's been any crossover, and we've touched on this here and there, but maybe between improv and the work you do?
Absolutely. I think, obviously you improvise all the time in surgery, and that's a cheesy way of saying it. But I think really more importantly is it just makes it more fun to interact with people, to be able to not just answer things just so directly. You can have a little more fun. And I feel like I'm a little more funny and lighthearted with my colleagues at work, like in the operating room. Like sometimes you don't have to answer exactly the question someone's asking. You still get the information across, but have a lot of fun. And everyone's a little bit more lighthearted. And even if they're having to do something menial to help you do a surgery, they're at least having a better time. And so they do it better.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I often feel like you're probably in a lot of high stress environments too. So being able to just like relax, keep things light, but still, get the job done can be really important. So,
I think improv also like functions double as my therapy, as I kind of mentioned before, because the stuff like Matt says about trying to become more extrovert if you're introvert, or in my case, more introvert if you're extrovert, really helps, because then I speak less. Because typically I'm the person who talks too much.
Yeah.
So then I get into surgery and I talk less. And just the function of coming to improv helps me get some of that out of my system. So the next day I feel like, I had a lot of fun. I'm good. I'm just going to be on the task at hand.
Yeah, it helps you lock in. Yeah. And I think that's an interesting point, like being the person maybe who talks more, right? Where improv, so often your focus needs to be on listening, right? And taking in. Especially, you're doing a scene, there's 2-3 other people up there with you. In a scene like that, you got to be taking in all the information, right? And then because words are more valuable in those scenes.
I think it helps you move on too. Like,
I
used to get more caught up in like if my boss said something mean or blah, blah, blah. And improv just trains you like, okay, that person might say like 50 words. You can't harp on word 2 and make your next statement on that. You got to harp on word 49 or 50, like that. You can't go on to that thought that was 5 thoughts ago. You need to be on the immediate thought that was presented to you.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really valuable skill set. I mean, I've seen it work. I feel like, my boss will say something and it'll like the old Naveen, or I mean, it's still me, but the older Naveen will be like, oh God, he said that thing on word 2. And now I'm not really focusing on word 50, which is really related to the task at hand.
Yeah.
I'm sure that applies to any field. But.
Oh yeah. I think it's very important, right? Not to hold on for too long. And I think in improv in particular is something that's always moving, right? Even when you finish a scene, that scene's gone forever. I mean, you can quickly reflect on it and be like, okay, this is something I want to try next time. But then you're moving on, whole new circumstance, whole new arena to play in. And I love that. That's one of my favorite parts about it. Because I know you mentioned earlier in the episode, right, when you were back in high school, like the theater with the lines and everything, that didn't really click for you. And that really resonated with me because I did a lot of that growing up. I did a lot of that in college. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, I don't want to be cast. I want to cast myself. I want to make my character. I don't want to be like, well, you're allowed to play this. You're not allowed to play that. Why does someone get to decide that for me? Or what is it? No, that's your line. You only say that. Shakespeare wrote some great words, but God forbid someone says them wrong, right? That's like the highest crime. You're going to get prosecuted if you do that. But improv, it's like, hey, you're writing it right there on the spot, and nobody can tell you what you can or cannot be or can or cannot do. It's just within the power of the scene, you and your partner, what you agree upon together. And that's pretty cool. So I don't know. Yeah, that just stuck with me when you said that.
Totally. And I know, they're all our brilliant actors in this city and New York and everywhere else. I mean, they do great things with that kind of mindset.
Oh, yeah.
All the greatest classical musicians play notes that were written hundreds of years ago, and they do it brilliantly, and they recreate it in a novel way. But for me, and for like my own DNA and the way my brain was made, it doesn't work. It doesn't help me focus and be in the moment.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And it's like maybe the idea of being engaged and on edge because you never know what's next, that gets you focused in the moment because you're like, okay, what's our next move? What's our next move?
I like the exercises too, that we do in improv, and obviously Matt does a lot. All of our teachers do this, where you just have to fail. Yeah, and I think that's an exercise that also really helps me in surgery.
Yeah,
because it might sound a little crazy, but there's just times, especially because I'm still finishing up my training, where you just have to do something, and you might fail, but you have to do something. Yeah. And getting that threshold down is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, and you got to give it a shot first, right? Because you're only going to get better if you keep doing something. And I think, improv can be a great training ground for that. And it's seeing that ripple effect in other areas of your life. Like you said in your work as, a surgeon, right? That's huge. I imagine nobody does surgery perfectly the first time, No one does surgery perfectly 1,000
times. There's always
minor adjustments and all that stuff.
But you have to get somewhere. So, having that ability to say, look, I know how to do this. I know I need to do something. I know it's like an improv. You have to say something. And if you get too caught up on, is it funny? Is it going to land? Is it going to do it? You just have to do it.
Yeah. And it's like, hesitating and thinking about it too much, it's only going to cause more problems.
It's going to make it worse, right? And this actually gets back to the Hinduism stuff I wrote about my thesis, the whole idea of karma yoga, like the yoga of action. And this also gets into what kind of happens to these professional basketball players is the analogy that's used in like ancient Hindu scripture is like the farmer can farm her field, right? She can put the seeds in the soil. She can put the water on but she can't, and she can do all that stuff, right? But she can't control if those seeds are going to grow. Yeah. The only thing she has control over is like how well she tills the soil and all that stuff. But what's crippling about that is what like kind of the analogy for us is like the student who's studying for the test and he studies so hard and he's so anxious about getting that A that he gets anxiety and he can't perform on the test, right? So learning how to just detach yourself from that result and just be completely locked in on the action itself. That's what I see a lot in improv because like, look, you have to say something, gray space before you even know what your brain is, before you're saying. And if it's a mistake, it's going to be even funnier, even though your conscious brain says, no, you can't say that.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Yeah. Your mind can get in the way and trip you up.
So I think that improv trains you to do that in your other areas of life. I think it helps me focus on just, all I can control is, my hand in this surgery. I can't control whether they have a good result or not. I can do my best. Yeah. But I can't control that result.
Yeah, and at some point it's beyond you and beyond your power.
Which is karma yoga. That's kind of the thing behind the basketball as well,
Yeah. Yeah, control what you can control and let the rest take care of itself.
And that's what, a lot of people, sorry to digress back to my thesis was.
No, not at all.
The players lose their joy, right? Like almost like you hear Simone Biles saying, I just stopped enjoying it. Like I was just doing this. I was only relieved when I won. I wasn't even happy. It's because the pressure gets so much like that where now you're at the gym and you're just shooting because if you don't make that certain percentage, you're going to get cut and now your family's going to make money, blah, blah. Yeah. You lose the joy of it. So and that's a lot of what Phil Jackson is doing is like, look, getting them back to the idea of enjoying, like being a play where you enjoy shooting and you're only competing against yourself. Yeah. Yeah. That's what that meditation, that yoga is supposed to do.
Isn't that sad too? Just like athletes who are at the top of their game, but losing the passion or the joy of something because of that immense pressure, right? I can't even imagine. Like, I could say I've probably never been under as much pressure as Simone Biles felt. Like at her level, at her sport, like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And just, the eyes of the world watching you compete, millions, billions of people. I'm like, I never had that many people watching me.
I just found what she said so compelling that she just admitted to the fact that
the honesty.
Yeah, that like it was just so, and it's really resonated with me. That thought of something you enjoyed, something that like just brought you incredible happiness. Your whole life just became tragic, and I felt some of that too because I struggled with anxiety in residency, and where I loved doing a certain type of surgery. Yeah. I loved it. Like that's what got me into doing orthopedic surgery. Yeah. And there reached a point where my anxiety got so bad that I would just like not want to do that surgery. And that's like, and I think that's why it resonated so much with me. Yeah.
Cause you're like, you saw that within yourself. You're like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. This got to me over time and the pressure. That's really interesting.
Yeah. I really admired her for being so vulnerable about that.
Yeah. How do you feel about that type of surgery now?
Oh, I love it. Okay. I got treated for my anxiety. So that was the other thing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Improv or therapy?
Therapy and medication.
Okay. There you go. There you go. Yeah. That's awesome. I'm all about therapy. So I'm very,
therapy and medication. Fan. Yeah. I know I talk to my therapist about improv all the time. She loves it.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Like, you're going to love what we did. I did not eat my teacher told me not to walk. I'm always the person walking. And she's like, yes, Naveen.
I've done a little bit of that with my therapist too, so I can relate. Very good. You're like, no, don't you see? Like,
actually, I talked to her about another thing that was kind of funny from improv. Yeah, how I find like I love how like Gavin and like Matt, they can really just get into a scene and start getting really into relationships between two people. Yeah, like I was watching a scene with like Gavin. And I think maybe it was Gavin and Matt. I can't remember. Where they were like roommates who were in an argument about something. Yeah. And I just had this thought, like, I'm good at making bizarre, funny things, but I'm not as good at like really getting into a relationship with goals like that. Like I can make something bizarre and funny. Like I remember I did a scene where I made like Fear Factor for like these cooks in Africa, like touching hot pots because someone in an Armando said they were, anyways, like I can make bizarre and funny and it's so funny, but like, man, the level I want to get to is like that relationship thing. And so I told my therapist, like, Naveen, do you think this is because you do this in other aspects of your life? Like, damn it, therapy, you got me again.
They find a way. They're like, and do you think this stems from like,
dude, maybe it's because you're not good at engaging in relationships in your own life. Like, damn it, therapy.
Brutal. Just like
never telling you about improv again until next week.
Stab me in the heart. Yeah. Gosh, therapists can be brutal like that. Ice cold.
No.
And they're like, and that stems from your relationship with your parents, right? And you're like, no, how dare you say that? And, even though I'm paying you to say that.
Same time next week? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's the things we do to improve, right? All right. Got a couple more questions for you, Naveen, and then we're going to get to some improv games. So the question I want to ask you, and I think you've answered this a little bit, so maybe this is more like in summary. So what would you say overall has been the impact of improv in your life?
Absolutely. It's made me more confident. It has helped me with my self-growth. My therapist loves it.
Yeah.
It allows me to be a little more cheerful because I feel like I'm not having to take everything everyone says to me at face value. I can have a little fun with it. As Matt always says, don't always take things, you don't always hit the joke on the nose. You kind of come around the nose or behind the nose. And so I just kind of take that in real life too. And sometimes, and I think maybe my improv teacher in high school told me this, like, sometimes it's just funny to be the clown. And like a lot of that comes from my improv chops. Like I'll be in the operating room and sometimes they'll just ask questions like, hey, who's that musician? And I'll just say something just absolutely bizarre. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's Elton John. And it'll be like a 90s song. And my boss will be like, no, it's not. And you'll know I'm messing with him, but it just kind of lightens the mood. And, that's, I think what's fun.
Yeah. Keep it fun. Keep it loose. I think that's really important. All right. I'm sitting here in this hypothetical scenario. I'm thinking about taking improv, but I'm on the fence. What advice or what would you say to me to convince me to start taking an improv class?
Absolutely. I think it will make you happier and make you more confident. And for me, and it's hard to talk to someone who's because I feel like I've been in this situation a few times. Yeah. I think it's hard with someone who's never done improv. They're a little apprehensive about it. Yeah. So I can only speak about myself.
Yeah, sure.
So for me, it's like the 2.5 hours where I just have zero desire to touch my phone or be anywhere else.
Yep.
And I think that's the most compelling thing I can tell someone. Like, look, they're like the most fun 2.5 hours. I do not want, I can't think of any other 2.5 hours. I don't want to like know what's going on my phone and talk to anyone else.
Absolutely.
Like, even during surgery, I'm like, oh my God, can I just go check my text? Like,
I got one hand free right now. Scalpel. 50 cc's a morning. Like, I don't know. Clearly I'm very educated. But I understand that. Yeah. I think that's definitely a very prevalent thing in today's society, right? Just like doing something that gets you off your phone is huge. And like, even like, people like watching TV and stuff these days, people like hop on their phones and like stay off of it. But going to an improv class, you are disconnected. And it's a good thing. You're connected to the people in the room and that's it.
I went to a really good improv show and I enjoyed being in Matt's class, like being part of it with like people Yeah. So I think the second part of it too is like it just gets more fun as you get close with the people in your class.
Yeah, it's richer.
Yeah, and so then you're having fun and more fun than I did watching the show, and I was like really striking to me.
Yeah. Well, I think it reaches a point where there's like an emotional buy-in in that situation. When you're in class, you're like, wow, these are people that I care about very much. Like you care about them outside the scene, right? And that just makes the comedy even better. It makes the moments you have with them, both as an audience member and a performer, even better. Because you're all rooting for each other and supporting one another and watching each other fail. That's a hard room to beat.
Yeah.
All right. Last question for you. What do you think is next for you in your improv journey? Any goals or anything you're looking to do in the year 2023? Is it keeping with IFTP, working hard there?
Yeah.
Anything you want to try?
I really hope Drama Prov comes on at some point because I really want to try that. And I sometimes and I love this because I think Daryl and I have very similar goals as far as improv. He and I are both trying to like bring it back. He and I are both trying not to be the funny guy.
Yeah.
And sometimes like he and I will have scenes where neither of us are particularly funny, but we'll make a compelling scene. And it is so challenging. But I enjoy it thoroughly. I love improvising with Daryl. He's also like one of my closest friends here.
Daryl's awesome. Yeah. First person I met at IFTP.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a phenomenal guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those would be my goals. And this is going to sound crazy. It's not that I don't want to do a show. It's that like the thing I love about improv is like, I don't really have an external motivation for it. And it's just so, and I think that's one of the things I like the most about it. Like if Matt never asked me to do a show, like, you know, I wouldn't care. It's just, I love being out there like in class and just sometimes like I have to take stock after the class to figure out, oh, I said that and it was funny.
Yeah.
I'm just so in the moment that I don't even know what's going on around me. And so it's almost like, yeah, a show would be cool, but it's like, sometimes I just don't really even know what's going on like until after it's happened. So I don't
you're just
even,
so in it.
Matt was like once, hey, you hit the joke. Stop, I hit the joke. Like, man, I don't remember saying that. Like,
You're like, what?
Yeah.
I did? Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
yeah. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think there's something to say. There is a distinct difference between class and a show. And I think class is, probably the best environment to do improv. I really do believe that. I think shows are great, but class is just another level because you get to play all the parts of audience, performer, like, and it's just, I don't know. There's something different about it.
It's a meditation. I don't know. I just feel like I feel so connected to the moment.
It's more sacred, I think, than a show. Because a show is like you're putting it up in front of everybody, but a class, it's you and the 10 other people in the room. It's a, yeah. So I'm with you there. All right, Naveen. Well, thank you so much for telling us about your improv journey, some of your thoughts. Just the Hinduism basketball improv connection, like low key, I want to read your thesis. Like I'm down for it. Cause that's my jam. Something like that. Just seeing like the threads between different things and like, especially with improv kind of being at the center and then tying those together. I'm like, oh, more of that, please. Yeah. So I'm all about that. But, we got to play some games, Naveen, because I'm going to do some improv with you. So we have 3 games we're going to be playing tonight. And the fun part about this is that you've probably never played these games before because I either made them up or I modified them. So, so that's the great part about it. So the first game that we are going to be playing is just, we're going to be doing a simple scene called Changing Locations. And how this is going to work is that I'm going to give us a suggestion for a location. And then throughout the scene, that location is going to change. And we're just going to have to roll with it, you and I. The improvisers. All right. So our first location that we're going to be at is the jungle. Naveen, you and I find ourselves in the jungle. So at some point, I'll give us a new location and I'll black out our scene when we're done. Any questions for me?
I'll just make statements. I won't ask questions like Matt always says.
Oh yeah. There you go. Got me. Naveen's ready to go. All right. Hey, pass me that bug spray, will you? Thanks.
Don't use all of it. It's got to last us a month or more.
You're right.
I don't know when the ship's going to come back for us.
I know. This whole expedition was a stupid idea. We don't know anything about the jungle.
I really thought it was going to be different this time, Charlie. Okay. I really thought that we were going to find ourselves and really rekindle what brought us together in the first place.
Thomas, I appreciate your spirit. Back home, we were kind of losing our way. So I get it. The idea to come out and spend a month in nature away from society, to kind of rekindle our friendship. It's brilliant, but it's stupid, dude.
Charlie.
I mean, the jungle? The jungle?
Yes, the jungle. Because here, you don't have your Instagram to just stare at the whole time. You're looking at the bug spray and that palm tree and whether or not that coyote over there is going to eat us. Or at least I think it's a coyote. I don't know what's in the jungle, but it looks ferocious.
There are animals here that I have not seen on TV. All right, location change. Street. Well, okay, this is better than the jungle.
I do enjoy this. Why don't we go get some street meat?
Yeah.
Because you're looking a little famished after our sojourn in the jungle.
It was
Nairobi.
It was a long month, so I'm glad we got out of there. But I can appreciate these things: paved roads, food from a cart.
Urine that's not from a hyena.
Absolutely. Thomas, I really doubted you at the beginning of this trip.
Using my full Christian name.
You're right.
I mean, this is the level of intimacy I've been looking for, Charles.
Oh, Thomas, I'm sorry that we ever got so disconnected, and in truth, it was because the breakup I had.
I understand,
Yeah.
And then that's part of the reason why I suggested this jungle cruise. After you and Ophelia ended things
Please don't say her name.
After you and that whore ended things, I had to find a way for you to get off your phone.
Yeah.
Because you just kept texting. You kept looking at your texts every other minute,
and she wouldn't respond. I sent her I would call her, multiple times a day. I'd text her. She'd leave me on red. That was frustrating. I wanted to get back together.
And that time I had to get you out of jail because you were stalling your car outside her house. There was a lot going on there, Charles.
I really made some bad judgment calls, didn't I?
But we're back on the streets of Des Moines, and
God, I love Des Moines.
It's a great state.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's a city in a state, but I think it's great.
And being here, eating this corn dog with you here on this street in Des Moines.
The meatiest of streets.
Yeah.
They actually call this Meat Street because there's so much meat on this street.
Yeah. I'm really appreciating the simple pleasures,
of just
being here with a good friend, eating a good, street dog, street meat.
Well, it's not dog anymore.
Oh.
No, there's actual, pig in it now.
Oh.
It's a recession.
Oh, you're right. All right, location change, heaven.
Well, we probably shouldn't have eaten that meat.
Oh, my.
But
okay, you got us into heaven, Thomas. I
was certain we were going the other place.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I think, before that jungle trip, I know where I was headed. My passport stamped, help. Woo, your friendship, you saved my life. You saved my soul, Thomas. Thank you.
Chuck, I got a confession to make to you.
Anything, man. We're in the trust tree. We're in heaven, dude. What is it?
We were in the jungle, and I wasn't sure if you were going to make it one of those nights. I baptized you. But I didn't have any water. So that hyena's urine,
Oh, Thomas.
And I'm actually surprised. I didn't think it actually worked to get us to heaven.
Thomas, I mean.
But, you smell, the smell's gone.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. My gut reaction is to be mad at you, but look where we are. Blackout. All right. Oh, man. I didn't know how that game was going to go, but I like the journey we wrote for ourselves.
I think we had a good time. I was good.
You saved my life. Thank you, Naveen.
With that coyote hyena urine of some sorts.
Hey, whatever it takes. All right.
8 years of Catholic school just comes out all at once. I'm so sorry, Father Gregory, if you're listening.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of years of Christian school, so I was right there with you.
Hindu and Catholic school. Right, I remember some. Right. That's what it comes from. It.
We're jumping in. All right, Naveen. So this next game we're gonna play is I base this off of. I'm gonna justify why we're playing this game. So I don't know if you know, but you have a Twitter account.
Do I really?
Yeah, but you haven't been on in a long time. We're talking a decade. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Are you a fan of the Houston Rockets? Or is there another team that's your team?
Not really.
Okay, you had a tweet I think from around 2012 that was related to the Houston Rockets.
Oh.
Unless you're talking about space travel, but I'm leaning Houston Rockets. And I mean, you had a lot of tweets. It was interesting. You joined in 2009.
I'm remembering it now briefly.
Yeah. Anyway, that's part of my deep dive. But in this game, you're going to be playing a star NBA player. What team would you like to play for, Naveen?
Why don't I play for the Memphis Grizzlies?
The Memphis Grizzlies.
Memphis
All right.
Grizzlies.
Oh, yeah. You spent some time in Tennessee, right? You got some Memphis roots there. All right. So you are the star basketball player of the Memphis Grizzlies. And for your player, would you like to use your own name or would you like to make up a name?
Why don't I make up my own name?
All right. We'll have you make up your own name. All right. So you're the star player of the Memphis Grizzlies. And we're at your press conference after you just lost in the NBA Finals. You lost Game 7 in the NBA Finals. And, oh boy, let me tell you, there are a lot of reporters in this room who have a lot of questions to ask you. So you're on the hot seat tonight. All right, so we're here tonight with the star player of the Memphis Grizzlies. And boy, do we have some questions for him after that historic collapse in Game 7 of the NBA Finals to the Golden State Warriors. We could not believe it. All right, so explain to us what happened there in the final minutes of the game. You had the ball. The game was tied. What happened from there?
So, yeah, as you guys have seen all on the video replays, I had the ball in my hand, and I just remembered that I had run out of minutes on my meter outside.
Oh, my.
And so the ball's in my hand. I'm just thinking, oh, my goodness, that is going to be quite the parking ticket. I need to just get out there real quick and go pay my parking meter. So I call a timeout. We don't have any timeouts left. And as you know, that's a shooting foul for their team. So they shoot 2 buckets, they're up. I'm outside putting the coins in the meter, and the game is over. There's fireworks going from the Oracle Arena in San Francisco. And Horatio Manchild, the star of the Memphis Grizzlies, yours truly, is now at a press conference explaining why we lost.
Horatio, did the meter, was it change or was it a card that it took?
Yeah, excellent question. And I thought it was going to accept a card again, but turns out someone had taped over the card thing, so now I got to find change. So I had forgot my car keys, where all my change lives, where every human being in 2023's change lives. So I have to run all the way back up 3 flights to my locker room because, of course, they give the visitors us 3 flights to go up. Elevator's conveniently broken. To go find my car keys. I run up, look for my car keys, and turns out the car key had been taken off. The rest of my keys are there, my house key. So someone had done something to it.
Oh my gosh.
So I go up and run around the locker room. I still can't find it. I'm looking everywhere. And I start hearing something vibrating. And I'm like, that sounds a little interesting. And it's coming from the ceiling. So I get some chairs because, I'm like, the first 4'9" star of any NBA team in league
Truly
history.
incredible.
Truly incredible. So it takes me several steps to get up to that ceiling tile, and I see my car keys taped to a cell phone that just says "ha ha" on it.
A prank. Do you suspect that the Golden State Warriors were behind this prank? Is this Steph Curry's work?
I am not here to get myself another fine, because between the traffic tickets of the greater San Francisco area, I can't afford any more fines right now because yours truly, Horatio Manchild, is now a non-winner of the NBA championship.
Right, yeah.
So I get my car keys. I try to run back down the stairs, but then there's a cleaning squad right on the stairwell, and they're just cleaning. I have to wait for them to finish.
Of course. So, it's good to be respectful to those employees of the arena.
And, they do such a great job.
Yeah, they do.
The pandemic, they were the ones just spraying ammonia everywhere, making sure that we're safe.
Shout out the cleaning staff at the Oracle Arena.
Shout out to our first responders and our cleaning staff, that you're the true heroes.
Heroes work here.
Heroes work here. And so then, so I get back down the stairwell. I get up there, and lo and behold, there is a mead of the mater, or a maid of the meter, or a maid as you might say, or a meter of mater.
That's what we call them in San Fran.
Yeah, a mater de mead. I think that's Latin. And they're putting a ticket on the front of my vehicle, and I beg, I pray, I say, look, I'm Horatio Manchild. Not only Horatio Manchild, I'm Horatio Manchild III. And I have a game to play. Can you please just not write me this ticket? Because, I really just, I had to see, I'm going to get the coins out, and there's foul play. And
there's a lot on your mind.
And then they tell me that once they start writing the ticket, they are legal bound to continue.
Yeah, of course.
And so I just have to accept this, $51 ticket.
Yeah.
And he writes it, and I'm a good citizen, I have nothing against the wonderful women, men, and children of the greater San Francisco area.
Yeah.
So I grab my coins. I grab a couple of nickels and a bent quarter, and I stick it into the meter, and I run back up, and the fireworks are going off, and
Game's over.
the game's over.
Game 7's over. So, Horatio, thinking about if you could go back to before this game started, what do you think you would do to prevent this from happening again? How would you prepare yourself to avoid this tragedy at the end of Game 7 here? Your historic collapse to the Golden State Warriors here in Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
Mr. Freelander Mason, that's a great question. Can I just call you Freelander? Is that
Absolutely.
right? All right.
Yeah.
Freelander.
Whatever you want, man child.
There is, I think there's a lesson to be learned here, I think there's always a good lesson, right? And I think as you get older in the league, and as I'm going to take this on as I get older in the league, I'm going to recognize you got to be aware of how many timeouts you have left. And so, going through this now, I'm going to say, I better say one timeout, because if I run out of minutes on my meter, I better have this timeout so we don't get called. And that's the lesson I take from this.
Well said, Mr. Manchild. We've seen on Twitter that it's been trending that some fans have put together a fund to buy you actually an Uber gift card for next year.
Oh my God,
Uber gift card.
That means a lot.
Blackout. Oh my gosh. What an elaborate story you put together there. I loved it. That was, I can't even imagine if that actually happened. Like, that player would get eaten alive. Yeah, that press box was pretty nice to Horatio there. But you shouldn't be escaping there. Like, how do you not get cut after pulling a stunt like that? All right. Thank you, Naveen. That was quite a treat. We got one more game that we're going to be playing tonight. And this game, fun story, you and I are actually both running for president.
Oh.
Which is pretty exciting. Yeah, we're both running for president. And we're here at a debate tonight. And we're debating a very hot topic that's sweeping the streets of America. And the topic that we're debating is, should all public restrooms have the vacant occupied locks on them? And I'm going to let you pick before we begin our scene. Would you like to be for or against this proposition?
I'm going to be against.
Against.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Now, my opponent, Reginald Fortitude Horatio III.
Your future president.
Well, now, hold on now. He'll tell you that we need signature all over the front of our public restroom.
That is a fact.
Where I'm from, small town Savannah, Georgia, we know when the toilet's being used. There's fumage. There's sounds. Use all 5 of your senses to figure out, is there someone or is there not inside the bathroom? You don't need them words. If them words there, Christ, you weren't raised right. Now, Mr. Horatio Reginald III comes from a deep-pocketed lobby, the bathroom doors makers of Des Moines, Iowa.
I do.
Now, he tells you that he ain't being turned by thems to make your laws and make every single tax-paying restaurateur on Main Street, not Wall Street, should have to replace all them doors with his doors.
I do believe that.
From the door company, First Doors Inc. United of Des Moines, Iowa.
Well, I am appalled by your answer to this question thus far and your position on this issue that shouldn't really be an issue at all, but a matter of fact. And you see here, ladies and gentlemen of the United States of America, my fellow Americans, that this man right here, Cletus Johnson, wants you to have mysterious bathrooms every time you approach them. And I want to explain why I own shares in the door company. Because, my fellow Americans, and I say this to every man, woman, and child, that when I was a young lad, I visited a Ross Dress for Less with my mother, working class family, blue collar. And at that Ross Dress for Less, I found myself having to use the facilities. So me, a young boy at 10, I'll walk up to them facilities. I'll knock on that door. I don't hear nothing. That door opens right up, and there I see, still to this day, burned into my brain, an older woman, mid-business, taking care of things. I don't want to list any numbers, but 1 and 2 were included in that. Well, and frankly, I say no man, woman, or child should have to be exposed to seeing one of your fellow Americans mid-business. That ain't right. And while we do deserve freedom in this country, we also deserve a right to privacy and a right to do your business safely. So while I may have other interests in this field, I have shares in the door company because I believe the door company can make a greater change for this nation. What do you have to say to that, Cletus?
Don't applaud him. You do not applaud him. Fine. Get it out of your system. All right, good. No hollering. You don't need to throw them bras on the stage. What is this? There used to be dignification to Congress. Now you come out here with your grandstanding. Now, what she's not going to tell you, what Horatio Reginald III ain't going to tell you, you know where them first United doors are made? They say Des Moines, Iowa.
They're made in Des Moines.
But how do we know they ain't coming from China? Yeah, you ooh and you ah. Yeah, that's what he won't tell you.
That's a wild accusation, Cletus.
That these occupados are coming from China.
Now, Cletus, I'm not one to be pointing fingers, but seems like to me you like a little mystery in your restroom, and that tells me that you and your folk are kind of perverts. I think you're hoping to see someone in there. That's why you don't want that lock. You're hoping you can stroll right in and see someone mid-business. And frankly, in this nation built on good Christian family values, we shouldn't see one another pooping.
Well, now them accusations ain't false, all right? I was just in the restroom to get myself a shave. And yes, I might have seen things I didn't mean to see, but that ain't mean I want a door with an occupado or a vacado on there from China.
Blackout. Oh, no. Oh, man. Oh, no.
I set you up for that one.
I don't know that either of us belong to any political party. We were both all over the spectrum there, which is what makes it interesting.
Which makes it more fun,
Yeah. I've always had this idea in my head of like a practical politician, and that's an issue for me that seems like very practical. But I was like, well, what if two guys were just debating it? So thanks for getting out there with me.
Oh, totally. Well, I was like, man, I think going forward would be a lot easier, but going against would be funnier.
Oh yeah, it's more challenging for sure.
Way funnier. That'd be funnier. Be like, who the hell thinks you shouldn't have an occupied sign on the door? Like everyone believes there should be an occupied sign on every single one of them.
Yeah.
Because one of my biggest hatreds in life is when the occupied sign doesn't work.
Oh yeah. Nightmare scenario. Yeah. You don't want to be the one to walk in on someone else.
You already have enough shame doing your business in a public restroom.
Yeah.
Why would you want the shame added to someone just jiggling and pushing?
Oh, no way. That, this makes you nervous in that scenario. No, I think you made a bold choice.
They should electrify the door. If someone tries to jiggle it, like the sign says occupy. So if you start jiggling it, you should get a little shock.
Oh, that's the worst kind of person. When it says occupied, someone's like, well, could be wrong. Like, no.
Like, this is I need all my lack of stress to let the business go down. I don't need you shaking the door.
That's why I'm in this private restroom with this locked door, because I know it's just going to be me in here.
I'm already trying to pretend that no one else has been or will be here. So please do not shake this illusion for me.
Yeah, like that my cheeks haven't shared the seat with thousands of other cheeks.
It is brand new. Like, this is the first time. It's a brand new toilet.
Yeah, it's me and only me. An intimate
Straight
relationship.
From Home Depot to here.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well said, Naveen. So before we close out for tonight, are there any final words you want to leave us with, whether about public restrooms or so many other things we've touched on this evening?
I have so many strong feelings about public restrooms.
Absolutely, I do too, but they're an interesting place, and maybe where politics are headed next.
Well said. That's the fun word. Yeah. I think we should end on that one.
Yeah. Next time. All right. Well, Naveen, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. It has been a pleasure talking basketball, talking Hinduism, talking improv, and so many other things. As always, if you enjoy listening to Improv for the Podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Check us out on social media. We're on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. And if you enjoy the show, we'd love to hear a review from you on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
And we started so high. We were like on Hinduism, philosophy, great improv theory. And then we just started talking about public restrooms. Like, man, we really need to like shift this, like start like, real lowbrow and work our way up to like high philosophy.
Yeah. As Matt always said, play to the top of your intelligence. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time. Improv for the Podcast was created by Matt Moore and Michael Lee Evans. Edited and produced by Michael Lee Evans. And finally, presented by Improv for the People. Interested in more IFTP? You can visit us at improvforthepeople.com or on our socials, such as Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Remember, new episodes are released weekly. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.